Hey everyone, my name is Marissa. Now, I normally work with teachers, but this episode is for anybody who is struggling with someone who is micromanaging them, right? So, like your boss or your admin or whoever. But just a little bit about me very quickly. I was a teacher for 22 years. I'm now a coach for teachers and motivational speaker. My ultimate goal is to empower as many teachers as possible who are still in the profession and want to thrive. I have basically created more of a positive space for teachers. And if you know any teachers who could benefit from that, I would love you to like, subscribe, follow me for more, all of that great stuff, and share. Share. And comment if there's something you want to comment on. I would love to answer your comments. If there's any questions you have about how to shift your mindset in teaching so you can stop focusing on those things maybe that you feel you cannot control, which, let's face it, in the craziness of the education system all over the world right now, there are many, many things we cannot control. And we have to do some shifts in our own mindset to help our lives and ourselves, and to shift ourselves out of the identity of just teacher to realize that we are more, there's more to us than just being a teacher. Okay, let's get into it. Micromanaging. All right, I had a boss who micromanaged me. Some of these strategies I used and they worked. And some I wish I had had because I didn't know about them at the time, but I'm going to give them to you anyway. And hopefully, if you do try them out, let us know how it goes. The first thing I want to point out is there are reasons that people micromanage. Okay, so I want to look at a few reasons why leaders micromanage in the first place, because understanding the problem can help you deal with the problem. Okay. Now, I don't know exactly how it is in other like businesses and things like that, but in teaching and education, many leaders, many people put into admin do not have the training to be efficient or effective leaders. And therefore, they are terrified of failing because they don't have the strategies, the skills that they have, like no one has really trained them, or they kind of job shadowed like one principal for, a week. And now they're like, okay, here you go. Here's a school. So that fear of failure, some managers, they can't get past that. If you don't do something perfectly, it reflects poorly on them, right? And because they are so scared of failing, they feel they have to control everything. And that normally comes from lack of training. Okay. So we have to sort of understand that it's not within our control to train our managers except to communicate a little bit better with them, which I will get to later. But that's number one. Okay. Micromanagers fear failure, and therefore they just can't let you, they can't let you do something wrong in order for you to learn, right? Which is just as important. Number two is lack of trust. And I don't mean like they don't trust you as a person, but they struggle to trust that you're going to do something either as well as they would have done it or the same way they would have done it. Let's face it, right? Because we all have different ways of doing things. Your leader or your admin or whomever is your your manager might feel that, well, if it's not done this way, it's not going to be done right. Right? They struggle to see that it possibly could also be done this way. And so they intervene all the time to make sure it's being done the way they want it to be done. And the only way to solve something like that is through communication and getting them to see that it possibly could be done differently. But rarely can you just show them that. You have to sort of communicate that. That'll come in a minute. Number three, many micromanagers are perfectionists. And this is what I sort of alluded to before as well. They have ridiculously high standards, and they don't understand, especially in teaching, that there are some things that just need to be done quickly so that the other things can be done more efficiently. And they expect that everything has to be done perfectly. They have this high and sometimes very unrealistic standard. And it's hard to kind of work with them. And also they don't want to delegate because again, they don't think that everybody can do it to the standard that they want it done. You have to show them that it can be done, or you have to show them that it's not as relevant, right? It's not as important that this gets done to such a high standard because it's more important that we focus here. Number 4 is, and this comes back to my lack of training, it's inexperience, right? Your less experienced managers, they don't have the confidence to empower their team, especially if people in their team maybe are older than them. They feel they might have like imposter syndrome. They feel that they can't do it properly. They don't have the knowledge. So we have to sort of forgive them for that because it's not their fault that they didn't get the right training. The best thing you can do maybe is like slip them a training, I don't know, course or something like that. Like, hey, you should consider taking this course. Could be really, you could learn, even more about being a great manager, that kind of thing. And the last one, which will not surprise anyone, is pressure from above. If your manager has to answer to another boss or group of bosses, and if that group of bosses is very demanding, like it can definitely be in education, then the pressure gets passed down. When the pressure gets passed down, the manager doesn't know what to do except to kind of transfer his or her pressure onto you because they are so stressed. That stress automatically channels to the team. They're not as, maybe equipped at dealing with their stress. That could also be something that comes into play with micromanagers, and you don't want to, have to worry about that. Now, let's have a look at some ideas that you can use to sort of help get through with this micromanaging thing. Because remember, you're not going to necessarily change them, but you can influence certain things. You are in control of certain things that can help make the micromanaging less and less frequent. And I know with me, when I did a few of these things, it didn't happen right away, but within a few weeks, I noticed like my manager just wasn't coming to me as often. She wasn't emailing me as often. She wasn't coming into my class as often because I had put a few strategies in place. Okay, so the first strategy is proactive communication. Okay, I cannot stress enough the communication. What I would do is once, she came into my classroom like pretty much like all the time. Every week, I would do it via email, but today I might actually even do it via voice note. What I do is I just give her an update email like once a week, right? It started out being twice a week. Then I went to once a week. And I would just basically share like what our class was working on, upcoming projects, right? If there was anything unexpected had happened, just sort of giving her a little update on what was going on in my week. And I know this is a little bit of extra admin, but it helped. Like it really did help. Like like I said, in a few weeks, she was coming to my class like less and less and less because she knew what was going on. And that is the first thing I would say is, right, micromanagers, they don't know what's going on. So they're like terrified that you are going to do something the way they don't want it done. So when you go and you just kind of give them a quick email to say, okay, these are the things we covered, you can even bullet point it. They feel like, oh, okay, that sounds good. Then I don't have to worry about that. That's one, and right. And they like transfer onto someone else. Which, I know we don't want to send that to our colleagues, but you can tell them, you can send them this video and they can do the same thing. And yeah, basically over time, the visits got less and less. Okay, number 2, this is a really big one. Clarify expectations. This, I really can't stress enough. This is one of the number 1 biggest problems in like schools is the lack of communication, right? Okay, we know this. It's right. Things like you have 12 WhatsApp groups, but none of them is going to tell you what you need to know, or the information you needed to know was up here. And then 13 people like said something like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you missed it, right? It was up there, but you missed it. This is where your clarifying expectations comes in, right? So if there is something specific that your manager, your admin is micromanaging you on, get clarification. If it's your lesson planning, say exactly where do you want me to save it? How do you want me to save it, right? Get a clear idea up front before you go and do it and you do it wrong because it wasn't the expectations that your manager wanted. So get the information up front, and that way you're going to know that you're meeting their standards. You have a solution for the problem. Okay. And you won't have to, you'll do it right the next time. So it's not something that your manager will come in. Anytime you're not sure, get clarification. The worst thing as a teacher or as like any job really is to do something because you assumed you knew what you were doing and you knew the way to go because you thought you heard someone say whatever in the staff room, and then you do it wrong. And now you got to do it again. Get the clarification first. Number 3, and this is actually something I did with this is when this worked really well for me with my micromanager. Set up a weekly meeting. Doesn't have to be long, can be 20 minutes. Set up a regular check-in meeting. Okay. I did this every week. And then at the like 6th week, I think it was 5th or 6th week, she had forgotten about our meeting. And I walked in and she was having lunch with her, like, I don't know, bestie in marketing next door. And I'm like, hi, are we not having our meeting? And then she's like, oh, no, it's fine. We don't need to have one. I'm like, okay, sure. And I did not hear from her for like 2 weeks. So bonus. Okay. Have a regular meeting, same time every week. Make it, like I said, about 20 minutes or so. That way you can just do a quick feedback sesh. She's going to know, or he's going to know exactly what's going on. And if there's anything they want to tell you, they can tell you then. And the more you do that, the less, well, it should happen anyway. It happened for me. The less frequently you'll see them. Okay. Because they know they're meeting with you, aren't they? And like on Wednesdays at like 10 o'clock. So it's fine. Number 4, demonstrate reliability. Okay. This one is a little bit, I might get some pushback on this because it is hard sometimes for teachers to stay up on top of everything, including like your organization, your grading, your communication with your students and your parents. But micromanaging does often happen if the administration, your manager doesn't think you're doing, like you're keeping things organized. Okay. I'm not saying you're not keeping things organized. I'm saying your manager doesn't think you're keeping things organized. So you have to show them, like, I'll give you an example. When I was teaching in grade 6, we had 2 grade 3 teachers, right? And the one grade 3 teacher, her classroom was like immaculate. It looked so good. Okay. At the end of the day, because she would get the kids to, you know, clean up and whatever. Like she had a system. But the other grade 3 teacher was a train wreck. Her classroom looked like all the other classrooms had just come and like dump their garbage in there. Like everything, like the books were disorganized. Everything was disorganized. And then the kids were disorganized and she would just like let them go. And then the class was still disorganized. She got visited way more frequently. And I'm not saying she's not a great teacher. I'm just saying she got visited, the one with like the train wreck classroom got visited by our admin way more than my other colleague did. Because in the admin's mind, this one over here with the train wreck classroom is more disorganized and needs more managing. Okay. So just like try to keep yourself as organized as possible. And that tends to, once your admin tends to see that you are like, especially the best thing you can do is when they come in and they're like, oh, can you give me this, or what, have you done this and this? You're like, yeah, did that like yesterday. Here it is. Right. Then they start to say, oh, okay, well, so-and-so is really, they're okay. I might not need to worry about them as much. Okay. Let's go. Number 5, asking for feedback and involving your micromanager. So now when you've got this manager, right, what do? You moan about them, you complain about them, you feel anxiety around them, you don't like them, okay? You wish they would go away. But what if you could just shift your mindset a little bit and really ask, like, involve them in decisions or involve them, kind of get feedback from them, right? Instead of waiting for them to come to your classroom, just kind of like when you see them, be like, oh, hey, like I did this. Like, what do you think? What do you think of this? Would you rather I do it this way or this way? I know that's like, why am I doing this? But it's because we've got to manage the micromanager. Okay. That's the key. So we've got to learn the strategies instead of just like, I'm feeling anxiety because they're coming in again. Don't they know I can do my job? Of course. Okay. You can do your job. We know that, but we got to work a little bit more delicately here with the micromanagers. So we're going to ask for feedback and involve them. Okay. So if you're planning a big thing, be like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm planning this. Like, do you think I should try it this way or this way? Like, even though you know you're going this way, see what they say, right? See if you were right. See if you were on the same track as they were. Who knows? Okay. But involving them, it helps them feel like you want their input. And as a result, they are less likely to bother you as much. Will they bother your colleagues? Probably, but not you. Okay, number 6, 3 more to go. Autonomy. Okay, so this is now like, okay, you've put in the strategies. Now you want a little bit more independence, right? And this happens when you're asking again for the feedback. So if there's something that you feel specifically they're micromanaging you on, once you show them that you can handle it the way they want it to be handled, then you can go in and try to ask to do something new, right? Because micromanagers don't like things new. They don't like new teaching methods and things like that. So that's when you can go in and say, hey, like, I saw this YouTube video and this idea really struck me on how we could maybe teach this science unit and maybe focus it on going outside or something like that. And these are like, this is how it helped the kids. Do you think I could try that? And like by this point, you've gotten into the good books, right? Because you've tried all the other strategies that have been now like taking your time to sort out the other strategies. And what is your admin going to say? First of all, your admin's going to actually think about it because it's coming from you and you've built that trust now. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. That sounds cool. Like, let me know how it goes. Of course, let me know how it goes, which you will. But now you've got that opportunity to try something new. Okay. If they don't like it, it's okay. It just means that you haven't built up the trust yet. Don't stop. Keep going. All right. It gets better and better. I promise. Now, number 7, thank them. I know that's like, but express appreciation for their guidance. Okay. Quote unquote, air quote guidance. Okay. Instead of getting frustrated with all the quote unquote feedback they're giving you, show appreciation, right? Like, oh my gosh, your tips have really helped me with classroom management. Maybe they didn't, but that doesn't matter. Tell her they did anyway. By expressing that gratitude, that acknowledgement, it can help a relationship. It can soften a relationship. And micromanagers will tend to step back when they feel that there's like a better relationship because you've built the trust, right? So even if you maybe don't agree, if you did something, if they gave you tips on something and you're like, okay, my God, I can't believe I've got to use this, use it. And then be like, thank you so much for giving me those tips, And maybe there is something that they offered you and you were like, wow, okay, that's actually a really good idea. Thank them. Thank you. That expression of appreciation can really go a long way. And last but not least, this links in as well to the building trust, but focusing on, obviously keeping them in the loop on updates, on results, on any issues you're having with parents and things like that. That's also building trust. But when you go to them with a problem, also getting them to help you come up with a solution, but having a solution in your head as well can get them to see you as a coworker where they still have to, give you the advice that they're supposed to give you, but they see you as someone who's working with them rather than against them. So the more you can say like, okay, this is a problem I'm seeing. This is the solution I think could work. What do you think? Right? And then you continue focusing on building that trust. I can't express enough that building the trust is key. Get to know, we're talking about all the time making connections with the kids. Make a connection with the principal too, with your manager. What is their, like, what do they value the most? Like, what are they really keen? Do they really want the best test scores? Do they want the best student engagement? Where do they want your focus to be? What's the most important to them? But also, what's important to them maybe outside of being a manager, right? Because every now and again, if you can ask them a question about their likes or dislikes, that's probably something people don't ask them. And that is something you can help, that will help you gain that autonomy in your teaching approach. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Those are my best tips that I've got, but I'm not saying that's all there is. But please, if you have ever had a micromanager and you tried something that worked that isn't on my list, I would love it if you could just put it in the show notes or put it in the notes, make a comment, because we are out there, like, we got to try to get through this together. Right? This education teaching right now is really, 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 really difficult. But I am sending all the teachers and everyone out there who's listened to this episode today, just so much love, light, laughter. I hope you have, it's November, earlier November 2024. Black Friday is coming up. I hope you have a great shopping experience. If you're in the States, I'm from Canada. We don't do Black Friday. We do Boxing Day after Christmas. So if you're in Canada, happy almost, hope you have a great Boxing Day experience and a great holiday, which is coming up soon. Have an amazing day further.